Hello, this presentation is by Alyssa Herder. Let's learn about Bloom's taxonomy. But first, who is Bloom? Benjamin Samuel Bloom is an American educational psychologist who developed the comprehensive system of describing and assessing educational outcomes in 1946, also known as Bloom's taxonomy. Now, what is Bloom's taxonomy, you may ask? That's a really good question. Bloom's taxonomy is a theoretical framework for learning and identifies three domains of learning. Originally, it was created in 1946, like I said, and in 2001 it was revised, and it is now the backbone of many teaching strategies. The reason behind this is because it has a clear structure and it is easy to follow. But I have a critique for it. So before we dive into the levels, I would just like to say that these levels could be deceiving for some. People may see this as straightforward. You follow these steps and you will get to the top. But for many others, it is not. The problem with both versions of Bloom's taxonomy is learning is not a hierarchy, and it is not a linear process, and it does not go step by step. You learn in different ways. I feel as though this may confuse some people, and they may think that this has to be the way in order for them to learn, but in reality, it is not. So, in Bloom's taxonomy, there are three domains of learning: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. But today we will just focus on the cognitive domain of learning. The cognitive domain. Cognitive domain revolves around knowledge, comprehension, and critical thinking on a particular subject. Within the cognitive domain, there are 6 levels of learning. Level 1. Remembering. The first level is all about just remembering facts from long-term memory. It is us recalling information and exhibiting memory of previously learned materials. The knowledge can be simple facts, terms, or basic answers for questions. An example of this in a classroom would be a child memorizing his or her multiplication facts or reciting the names of the categories of animals: marine, avian, terrestrial, and amphibian. Level 2. Understanding. Understanding is defined as the construction of meaning and the building of relationships. With understanding, you are able to comprehend a concept or a fact and decide if you can interpret and connect the ideas. Continuing with the example of naming the animal categories, the next step of this would be a child being able to group animals into the correct category, such as a clownfish would be under marine. Level 3. Applying. The definition of applying is using information in new or familiar situations to resolve problems by using the acquired facts, knowledge, rules, and techniques. The level of applying involves remembering what has been learnt, having a good understanding of the knowledge, and then being able to apply it to real world exercises, challenge, or situations. Level 4. Analyze. During analysis, we examine and break down information into different categories and then figure out how they relate to one another and find evidence to support our ideas. Level 5. The fifth level in Bloom's taxonomy is evaluation. This level requires the learner to make criteria-based judgments throughout the process of critiquing and checking. Level 6. Finally, the end, create. This level draws on all of the other levels, which is remembering, understanding, and applying knowledge, analyzing and evaluating outcomes and process, and then constructing the endpoint. An example of this would be creating a 3D model of a building. So, in the end, before we can understand a concept, we must be able to remember it. Before we can apply the concept, we must be able to understand it. Before we analyze it, we must be able to apply it. Before we can evaluate its impact, we must have analyzed it. Before we can create something based on the concept, we must have remembered, understood, applied, analyzed, and evaluated that concept. So, you have to use all 6 of the levels before you can create the end product. So, How do you use Bloom's levels as a teacher, you may ask? Teachers can use and apply Bloom's taxonomy by asking questions and creating assignments that specifically have something to do with the learning objectives in each stage of the process, making sure that it is clear to the students. The reason why Bloom's taxonomy is important for teachers is it can help us understand the objectives of the classroom teaching, and it can help us improve the learning for the students. If we understand the 6 levels in the taxonomy, the faster it goes and to get to the final level. Also, along the way, we can create and change the complexity of the questions to help students get to the highest level of learning. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you have a great day.